It is the final day of 1944, and high above Europe, winter sunlight glints off aluminum wings as a formation of B-17 flying fortresses pushes east toward Germany. Inside one of them, a bomber named the Little Skipper, Second Lieutenant Glenn Rojohn, sits at the controls, his gloved hand steady on the column. Beside him is his co-pilot, Second Lieutenant William Leek. Ahead lies Hamburg, a city whose docks and oil facilities are vital to the German war effort, and therefore marked for destruction. The sky ahead is already alive. Dark bursts of flak bloom beneath the formation, rising in violent black flowers. One by one, bombers in the distance are struck, spiraling down in smoke and flame. For the men watching from the Little Skipper, the sight is both horrifying and familiar. This is the cost of flying daylight bombing missions over heavily defended territory. As the formation reaches the target area, the flak thickens to a density none of the pilots have ever seen. The air itself seems to tear apart around them. Rojohn spots the smoke marker over the docks, the signal to release the bombs. Across the formation, bomb bay doors yaw open, exposing long racks of 500-pound bombs to the freezing slipstream. Then catastrophe unfolds in seconds. In the lead squadron, a B-17 named Fool's Rush In takes a direct hit. The aircraft lurches violently off course and slams into another bomber, Cramps Tramps. Metal screams against metal. One plane is sliced in two and both fall away, tumbling toward the ground below. For a moment, it seems impossible that anyone could survive, and then, impossibly, parachutes appear. 1, 2, more. 6 white canopies blossom against the dark sky. Rojohn counts them aloud, forcing himself to focus, forcing the moment into order. The shock is pushed aside. There is still a job to do. Confirm when bombs away, he radios. Bombs away. The payload drops free, a deadly cascade falling through the open bomb bay. From the ball turret below, the gunner reports the impacts. The bombs are right on target. With the release complete, the surviving bombers execute a planned turn, swinging back toward the North Sea. They tighten formation for the journey home, closing ranks for mutual defense. But the enemy is already coming. A warning crackles over the intercom. Bandits, 11 o'clock high. Nearly 50 German fighters race in to intercept. The first are unlike anything most of the crews have ever seen. Me-262 jet fighters. One screams past the formation at astonishing speed, cannons flashing as it cuts through the line and vanishes before the gunners can even track it. Then come the propeller-driven fighters, Bf-109s attacking head-on, FW-190s swarming like hornets. To the right of the Little Skipper, a damaged bomber named Faithful Forever begins to lag behind. Already wounded by flak, it is struck again. Over the radio, its pilot calmly reports the inevitable. The aircraft descends under control, and its crew bails out at low altitude. Against the odds, they survive. Back in the main formation, the situation is deteriorating fast. The bombers are scattered, damaged, and vulnerable. Another warning rings out. Enemy fighters at 8 o'clock high, and then, through the chaos, a sight lifts every heart in the sky. Sleek American P-51 fighters dive into view. Relief floods the radio. The German pilots, suddenly facing fast, aggressive opposition, break off and flee. The P-51s pursue briefly, then peel away to protect other bomber groups still under attack. Rojohn and what remains of his formation are alone once more. They press on, limping toward the coast. The sea lies ahead, promising escape, but turbulence begins to tear the formation apart. The aircraft struggle to hold position, and then the call everyone dreads returns. Bandits, 11 o'clock. Another wave of German fighters rises from airfields near Bremen and Oldenburg, forcing its way in over the water. With the bombers spread out, gaps open, deadly invitations. One by one, aircraft are hit. engines trailing oil and fire as they drift away. Ahead, the lead plane in Rojohn's element, a B-17 called 9 Lives, is strafed head-on. Bullets rip through the cockpit. Both pilots are killed instantly. But the engines keep running, and the aircraft flies on, eerily steady, its crew unaware that no one remains alive at the controls. Rojohn reacts instinctively, pushing the little skipper forward to close the gap and maintain formation. He searches for 9 Lives, calling out over the radio. There is no reply. What he cannot see is that the dead pilot's hands, slumped forward, have pulled back on the control column. 9 Lives is climbing slightly, drifting directly into his path. In a nearby bomber, another pilot sees the danger unfolding and radios frantically, trying to warn them. The warning comes too late. At 12:44, the collision happens. The impact is brutal and surreal. The little skipper shudders violently, throwing Rojohn's hand from the throttles. Leek's knees slam into the control column. Alarms and shouted reports fill the cockpit as they struggle to understand what has happened. Then Rojohn looks out and sees the impossible. They are riding on top of another bomber. 9 Lives has crashed into the belly of the little skipper, its nose embedded deep in the fuselage. The two massive aircraft are locked together, flying as one grotesque 8-engined machine. Below, in the ball turret of 9 Lives, Staff Sergeant Edward Woodall Jr. is trapped in darkness and twisted metal. Power is gone. Hydraulics are dead. Slowly, painfully, he hand cranks his turret to the downward position and crawls back into the fuselage. When he looks forward, he sees the horror of what has happened. The ball turret of the little skipper, with Corporal Joe Russo inside, has been forced down through the roof of 9 Lives. It is clamped in place by crushed aluminum. Russo is alive, but there is no escape. Inside the little skipper, the crew hears Russo's voice over the intercom. Calm at first, then trembling. He begins to pray. The words of the Hail Mary echo through the aircraft, each repetition quieter than the last. Leek listens, deeply shaken, knowing there is nothing he can do. To give the gunner what little dignity remains, he removes his helmet and disconnects his intercom, leaving Russo alone with his prayers. Meanwhile, one of 9 Lives' engines is burning fiercely. The combined weight of both aircraft drags them downward. Rojohn and Leek brace their feet against the instrument panel, straining with every ounce of strength to keep the joined bombers under control. They try to shake free. They try to rock the aircraft apart. Nothing works. Rojohn knows the truth. If they hit the sea, no one will survive. The only chance for anyone is to reach land and bail out. He throttles back, easing the engines to idle, and begins an agonizingly slow turn. Inch by inch, the locked aircraft respond. Against all reason, it works. The German coastline slides back into view, but the fire is spreading now, flames licking across the wing. Heat bleeds through the aluminum skin. Ammunition begins to cook off, 50 caliber rounds exploding in the blaze and spraying into the air like deadly fireworks. Over the intercom, Rojohn gives the order. They are over land. The crew must bail out, from the tail door, directly into the slipstream and the fire. In the waist of the aircraft, crewmen fight desperately to free Russo. They pull, they strain, the turret does not move. At last, with the flames closing in, they have no choice. One by one, they leap into the air, carrying the weight of what they must leave behind. On the ground below, German gunners stare upward in disbelief at the sight of 2 bombers fused together, falling toward them. An officer orders his men to cease fire. There is no need. Fate has already decided this aircraft's end. In the cockpit, Rojohn tells Leek to jump. It is his last chance. Leek refuses. Without both of them on the controls, the aircraft will spiral out of control before Rojohn can escape. He stays. Together, they fight to hold the wreckage straight as the ground rushes up. Prayers are shouted aloud, not in fear, but in defiance. The impact is cataclysmic. 9 lives disintegrates on contact, exploding beneath the little skipper and flinging it briefly back into the air. Then the little skipper slams down again, tearing through a wooden building and splitting apart before grinding to a halt. Silence follows. Amazingly, Rojohn and Leek are alive, bruised, bleeding, but alive. Leek crawls from the wreckage into daylight only to be stopped by a German soldier shouting at him to put down a cigarette. Fuel is pouring everywhere. Because of extraordinary skill, strength, and refusal to abandon one another, 6 men from the little skipper survive. 4 from 9 lives survive. Against every law of probability, life emerges from one of the most unbelievable mid-air disasters of the war. Rojohn never speaks much about the medal he earns for that day. He insists that survival was not his achievement alone. He always says the same thing. He owes his life to Bill Leek.